But just look, they got it now in Seattle. You want to know what this country looks like under a Joe Biden or whoever the globalist alternative is that they bring forward? What our country will look like? Just look at Seattle. Mass chaos and mayhem. The deep state puppet mayor and the deep state puppet governor of the state of Washington are giving you a preview of what a Biden presidency or another globalist presidency will look like. They commandeered 6 square blocks, Chaz, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, that then morphed into CHOP, the Capitol Hill occupation protest. The mayor of Seattle says it's a street fair. It's a summer of love. For several days, the governor of Washington, Inslee, was like, there's a problem? Huh? I don't know about that. Come on, man. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Come on. Zach Voorhees initially reported that a warlord by the name of Raz from Chaz, a rapper, was the, quote, governor of this Chaz area. Since coned down from 6 square blocks, I believe, to 3. Still, tell the people in those 3 square blocks that their property was decimated, their property was commandeered, stolen from them. That this is a summer of love and it's a street fair. The mayor pulled back police out of the 3rd district. Bad move. Good move for the deep state. That's what she's paid to do. But as Zach Voorhees pointed out, this warlord, this governor, Raz from Chaz, was caught on video. He had his Tesla and opened up the trunk of his Tesla and was handing out AR-15s to random young activists in Chaz. When you watch these young people handle these weapons, it is obvious they've never handled a weapon before in their life. They're pointing it around at each other. They're looking at... Right. This Chaz that morphed into CHOP area that the mayor says is a summer of love and it's a street fair has morphed into a killing zone. On Twitter, Carpe Donctum stated the following: my favorite part about 2020 so far is when the anti-fascists of Antifa and Black Lives Matter took over part of a town, Seattle, to create a utopia free from the tyranny of Donald Trump. And then immediately they built a wall around it. Remember, these are the same people protesting the wall on the southern border. Then they started extorting businesses and created a police force that assaults people. According to the Seattle police chief in this CHOP area, quote, rapes, robberies, and all sorts of violent acts have been occurring in the autonomous zone, end quote. And so has death. This past Saturday morning, very early, about 2:30 in the morning, there were 2 individuals that were shot. The police tried to get there, but they were blocked by the residents of Chaz. And when the paramedics arrived, they were not greeted warmly either and held off from getting to the victims, to the point where the victims were put in cars and brought to Harborview General Hospital, where one died and one is in critical condition. There has since been more violence in this occupied Chaz country. That Chaz CHOP area, whatever you want to call it, is a petri dish of totalitarianism, of hypocrisy, and of what our entire country will become if a globalist is elected president, such as Joe Biden. You see, the plan was for you to be so fearful of what's happening that you'll hunker down and you won't go vote. And you won't talk to individuals about President Trump, his reelection, about the freedom movement. The hope is that you would be so petrified that you would essentially give yourself a stay-at-home order. See, they were conditioning you for stay-at-home with the pandemic. Now they want you that you're so ingrained with stay-at-home that you'll stay at home for the election, that you won't vote. Because you see, it's harder for them to steal the election if you go and vote. They want you fearful. They want you hiding in your home. They want you not to say a thing. They want you to be quiet. They don't want you to talk to your neighbors or your friends or your coworkers or your colleagues or your relatives about what's happening in Chaz or Chop. No, they don't want that at all. Because that's how they can steal their election for their boy Joe Biden. It's backfiring on him. How do we know? From Summit News, most Americans agree with Trump. The vast majority of police are doing a good job. Because remember, what they want to do is they want to not just defund the police in our country. They want to dissolve the police. These crazies in Chaz are talking about the police department. And the city council in Minneapolis voted to disband the police department. Who are they going to put in their place? They're talking about social workers. I have a lot of friends who are social workers. They're great people. But they're not trained in law enforcement. That's exactly what these totalitarian thugs, Marxists, want. A police force that will not uphold the rule of law because they don't have the ability to do so. Easier for them to take over completely. Most Americans agree with Trump. The vast majority of police are doing a good job. Despite weeks of anti-police protests, a clear majority of Americans agree with President Trump that the vast majority of officers are doing a good job. Respondents were asked by the Rasmussen polling agency, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Our police have been letting us live in peace, and we want to make sure we don't have any bad actors in there, but 99% of them are great, great people, end quote. 56% of folks agreed with that statement, while 30% disagreed. 14% remain unsure. The poll also found that only 16% of Americans think a police-free society is a likely outcome. So we have subversives taking over a part of the city in Seattle. As of the recording of this video, they still remain in charge of their little country. They're now 3 block by 3 block area. Contrast what's happening in Seattle to what's happening in Oregon City, Oregon. It's about leadership. It's about freedom. It's about your rights. Quote, I will not endorse any unlawful acts, end quote. Oregon City mayor faces down a radical leftist rage mob. One of the most memorable incidents unfolded when Dan Holliday, the mayor of Oregon City, a town situated just outside of Portland, quoted data from the Washington Post to argue that there isn't an epidemic of police shootings of unarmed black people, though he didn't deny that systemic police brutality against minorities is an issue in need of reform. The black backlash was swift, as activists enlisted members of the city council to try and pressure Holliday to resign. Eventually, an emergency meeting was called for on a Sunday. He kicked off the meeting with a brilliant monologue about the responsibilities of public officials and the role of government and the true meaning of equal justice under the law. Imagine if this person, Holliday, was mayor of Seattle. Here's what he said. When I was first notified of this meeting tonight, my first reaction was to not come and let the folks say what they wanted. But the more I thought about it, the more I believed that would be taken as a sign of cowardice. Right? They want you to stay home. They don't want you to speak. He did. I have spent most of the last few days thinking about how we got to where we are today and what I might say to the people of Oregon City. As mayor of Oregon City, I take seriously my obligation to ensure that the rule of law is applied equally to each and every citizen, regardless of color, beliefs, station in life, or where you come from. In George Floyd's case, the law was not applied equally. That is why we are in this place today. People are angry. They should be. I am angry. Let me be clear. What happened to George Floyd was wrong. What those police officers did was wrong. Indeed, they'll get their day in court. We don't do this, nor will we tolerate it in Oregon City. We must bear this in mind as we reflect on this inhumanity done to this man. Peaceful protests and calm rhetoric honor this man. Mob violence and riots do not honor George Floyd. The equal application of the law honors the man. And as mayor, this is a commitment I make to you, indeed the only one I am capable of making. I will treat all Oregon City residents with respect and equality. This is my commitment to you to do everything to make sure that the citizens of Oregon City have the assurance that I will stand with them and with the rule of law. I will not endorse any unlawful acts done in the name of George Floyd. He deserves better. You deserve better. I will not ratify riots, and I will not bend the law to protect rioters, nor will I bend a knee in supplication to an enraged mob. I will stand and will commit to you my continued commitment to equality under the law. I will commit to you that you will be treated equally under the law. I will endorse peaceful protests. Frankly, I don't quite understand why anyone would live in the Seattle area right now. And if I was living in Seattle, I'd move to Oregon City. Why? Because leadership understands freedom and liberty and people's rights. The mayor of Seattle does not. Neither does the governor of Washington. But this is backfiring. Big time. Headline, truckers and truck drivers reject delivery to cities with defunded or disbanded police. A popular trucking app called CDL Life polled its users and found an overwhelming number of drivers will not, quote, pick up or deliver to cities with defunded, disbanded police departments, end quote. That's right. It's about their safety and security, as it should be, and their rights and their freedoms. And then the photo op happened with Nancy Pelosi and the other globalist puppets in Congress when they produced a police reform bill. And they went to an area of the Capitol and on bent knee with African cloths around their textiles around their necks. They held a photo op to show how much they care. Why did they do that? Because the deep state thought it'd be a good idea. Not so much. From Zero Hedge, quote, don't treat Africans like kids, end quote. Black Twitter erupts as Democrats' anti-police bill stunt backfires. In their latest absurd showing of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, Nancy Pelosi and a host of Democratic lawmakers took a knee. Get this, donned traditional African garb during a press briefing where they unveiled their new police reform bill that the White House has already said has no chance of passing. President Trump, by the way, has issued his own reform through an executive order. Pelosi and company capped off their performance by kneeling in silence In fact, they knelt in silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the time that that knee was on George Floyd's neck. Interesting, if there was some contraband video that came out that after the 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Nancy Pelosi is so debilitated she couldn't even stand up. She had to be helped up by several people. However, as with so many grandstanding virtue signaling efforts have in the past, this stunt backfired as Black Twitter erupted. Author Obandeju Akusha posted a video demanding Democrats stop, quote, virtue signaling, end quote, by wearing African cloth in the Capitol. She said, quote, excuse me, Democrats, don't treat Africans like we're children. These fabrics and these colorful things that we have within our culture and tradition, they all mean something to us. I know you look at us and you say, oh, quote, oh, Africans are so cute in all of your colorful dresses, end quote. Well, some of those dresses and patterns and colors and fabrics actually do mean something to us, end quote. The information operation is backfiring big time on the deep state. They're desperate, they're panicked, and they will only become more panicked and desperate as the days and weeks unfold. You will not hear this in the bought-off lamestream fake media. And the reason is because President Trump and the freedom movement is winning the information warfare. And I believe, come November, that people like you and me are not going to shelter in place. We're not going to stay home. We're going to not get on our knees. That we're going to stand on our own 2 feet. We're going to walk out our front door just like President Trump walked out the front door of the White House. And we're going to walk into that polling place. And we're going to vote. And we're going to vote for freedom and liberty, our rights, and our future. And we're not going to vote for deep state totalitarian thugs that want to strip us of our freedoms and liberties. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll become a member of our subscription service, $9 a month. Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, you can get rid of it, but I'm not sure why. Because the information you get, you're not going to see, hear, read, or experience in the bought-off lamestream fake media, and that's a fact. The only way this YouTube channel, the only way the radio show, the only way the website continues is with support from subscribers. I hope you become part of our freedom family. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today.